blah, blah.
Renar's podcast.
Here's the bee's knees.
Yeah.
So this is Elder's very special honey. I barely can read it. What does it say?
It says Harland Honey, and then the rest is my my address. So please don't show that on camera.
Why do you put the address on?
So it's part of the legislation. If you're going to sell honey, you have to have an address so that people can come back to you. If, say, the honey's tainted with something, they can go, oh, I can contact the seller and let them know about it. You also have to have like the batch number, so you know like what year it was produced. If you've got like multiple apiaries, you'll be able to go, okay, so the honey from that batch was bad.
What the hell is apiary?
An apiary is a collection of hives. It's like where you keep your bees, basically.
So yeah, when you said about the bee stuff, how many years ago, I was like, wow, this guy's just getting cooler and cooler. Now
I'm glad you thought so, because everyone else thought I'd lost the
Dude,
plot.
I thought so cool because as a kid, I grew up in a farm. Like we didn't had our own bees, but we had a neighbor who was he had like 15 hives at some point.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot, and it was his main income source, and he was selling the honey and stuff. And then I would be about 9 years old, and I would come over and help him to do some checking. Like mainly, I would be hired to see something like the drones. So when drones. So I was responsible to get rid of drones because potentially they just eat a lot of honey and stuff, and it's not good to have too many of those. And to explain to us, what does that mean, drones?
So drones are the
drones. So you did drones.
Yeah. So they are the male bees in a hive. So they're the ones whose entire job is to go off and mate with queen bees. That's it. That's all they do.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time, they sit around in the hive and eat your honey and get in the way.
Yeah, and they're much bigger than the working bees. Mm-hmm. And do you think what they use, the word for drones, the flying drones, they took it from that?
Sort of. So a drone is actually like a musical term. Oh. So it's like,
that's drone.
That's a drone, right? So instruments like hurdy-gurdies and stuff, they're drone instruments, or like the bagpipes. Bagpipes is a drone instrument because it's like you constantly have that, and then you add the notes. Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And because the bees make that sort of noise when they're flying about, they were called drones. And then the term is sort of, it's like, in like Star Trek, you've got like the Borg and you've got Borg drones, right? And it's like the idea that they're part of a collective. So it's like, it started as a musical term, then it became known for like an insect. And because it was an insect, it's become known as being like part of a collective. But also, so the sort of the noise that drones make, that sort of.
Okay, so where it all started with your obsession with the bees?
I wouldn't say I'm obsessed.
Well, not
with
obsession,
bees,
but
right?
your interest.
I don't like dress up as a bee or anything. I'm not the guy from The Simpsons, but
and you don't produce your own honey like that,
I mean, who would do that, right? No, it's So in my hometown of Chelmsford, right, you've got the Chelmsford Museum, it's great, for what it is. It's like a local museum, and it's fantastic. And in the top floor, they've got an observation hive. So they have basically a glass box that has a beehive in it. Mm-hmm. And you can go up and you can open a little thing and you can just look in and see the bees doing their thing. And I was always fascinated by that. Like, it was always like, oh, I'm at the top of Molsham Street. I'll nip in and have a look at the bees because it's such a cool little thing to see. So that sort of started it off in my head. And then I've got another friend of mine, Jay, who lives out in Mistley in Essex. And he was talking about sort of getting them. It was one of those sort of Wikipedia black hole topics for him. Mm-hmm. Like, he would just be like, oh man, I stayed up for like 3 hours just researching bees last night. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. And it's sort of, that kind of got it in my head. And then one day we were out on that snowboarding trip that you weren't invited to. And we're in Austria, and the breakfast bar has got just a frame of honeycomb. Mm-hmm. Right, so it's not like a jar of honey or whatever. It's just an entire frame of honeycomb, and you just scoop a bit out, put it on your toast, eat it. And I was like, I want that. I want that. And I contacted my local beekeeping association and signed up for their beginners course, which was 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
So I was taught by this guy called Rudy Repka, who did a fantastic job of teaching me about bees, and still continually, because I go down sometimes to Bee Club on a Saturday, hang out with all the other people that are 2-3 times my age, and we all talk about bees. Yeah, it's
Well,
fantastic.
that's cool though. Like, it's a cool community. It's
Yeah,
like,
man.
I mean, how the hell they figure out, like, let's say you have your beehive and they say there's some hornets get spotted, how they would chase them to get to their a nest.
Well, one of the ways that you do it, it's an old bee hunting technique where basically you capture one bee, right? So you put like a bit of honey or something on a pad and you just put a little mark on it, like with a little pen, like a little chalk pen or something. Put a little mark on it. And when it flies off, you watch the direction it flies in, right? And then you walk in that direction. And then you keep a little trap out. And if you see that same bee come back, you're like, great. And if it's in a shorter amount of time, you'd be like, okay, I'm getting closer. And then you keep walking in that direction. And if the time keeps...
Why would that bee would come back?
Because there's an amount of food.
In the sense of like this bee, you caught it, let's say like it was pollinating whatever these flowers you have here. And then you put that little mark and then you see it flies that direction. As you go towards that direction, the same bee would stop at you because it
recognizes...
where it got the honey,
Yeah, yeah.
where it got that food. Oh.
And in fact, you might get more bees coming to you because
that bee's told to other
Exactly.
bees, hey, girls, you're never going to believe what happened. So I thought it's...
I mean, kind of. But the way that they tell each other is through what's called a waggle dance.
Waggle dance.
Yeah. There you go. They shake their butts. They walk around and sort of like an
Do the voice,
hourglass.
do the Edinburgh voice.
The which voice?
The Edinburgh, not the witch's voice, the Edinburgh.
The bee comes back to the hive and explains where to find a fresh source of nutrients. It does this by dancing around in a small circle, wiggling its little bottom to explain the direction of flight and the distance. There you go.
That is so good.
Thank you. Again, 3 years of drama school on show.
I love it.
But yeah, so that's how they tell each other, and then you keep seeing if it's getting closer or further away,
Yeah.
and then you change your direction. Just keep going like that. But it's that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, obviously it makes sense because if one bee find a beautiful tree or whatever full with flowers and stuff, they can feed the whole entire colony. Obviously,
Exactly.
they have to have a way how to tell them what happened. Do you think they have a WhatsApp group?
Yeah. Well, they all just message each other on Bumble.
Or just yeah, match. Good one.
But so it's a real problem. And again, similarly to the varroa mites, these Asian hornets, they existed in Asia and honeybees there learnt to deal with them.
Yeah.
Right?
So they can fight them or whatever.
Yeah. So what they tend to do is they bundle them
and heat
them up and basically cook them. Yeah.
And then these bees, our bees, don't know what to do.
They don't know
with
what to
them.
do. Yeah.
Fuck.
So you can get like 5 or 6 hornets that will just rinse through a hive and just destroy it.
Wow.
The
process of how do they actually make the honey?
Well, honey is basically you think of any other syrup, right? So like maple syrup, agave, whatever. You basically get so in the case of like maple syrup, you get the water from a sugar maple tree, and then you just condense it, right? You dehydrate it, and you get it down till it's a syrup.
Basically, try to get out of the water. Yeah.
Honey's exactly the same, except it's from flowers and trees. So the bees go around, they collect the nectar from the trees, from the flowers, whatever, and then they bring it back. Now, remember how I said about how the entire hive is like one animal, right?
Yeah.
They have effectively a collective stomach. So, a bee gets back from a foraging mission, first thing it does is vomits in another bee's mouth. Yeah.
Wait, do the Edinburgh.
I'm not doing it again. I'm not doing the whole thing.
I want to hear you just say the thing in the vomits another bee. Just that one, come on.
The bee vomits into another bee's mouth. There you go.
It's like a bird feeding almost.
Yeah, kind of.
So why would it vomit to other bees' mouth?
So basically, every bee has a very specific task, right? You have forager bees that go around and collect. You have nursery bees, which
look after
look
the
after the
larva.
young.
Yeah.
You have cleaners that just keep everything spick and span. You even have graveyard bees that sort of are there to get rid of the dead and diseased bees sort of
And
around the bottom.
are those all bees exactly the same?
Yeah.
Like biologically and everything is
Biologically,
exactly
the same.
but just they have different tasks.
Yeah, and,
so in
and a lot of
general,
the time it's to do with their part of their life cycle they're in.
Oh, okay.
So it's like the younger bees will be nursery bees, that sort of thing. Because it's like, oh, you're fresh out, you should be looking after stuff. And then when you get a bit older, you can go off and...
Yeah, and what is the lifespan for bees?
Over the winter, it's about 4 months.
Okay.
And during the summer, it's 3 weeks.
Wow, 3
Yeah.
weeks and they're dead.
They work themselves to death, yeah.
Jeez.
Whereas in the winter, they're basically, all they do is they huddle, they buzz a bit to keep warm and eat.
Wow.
So because they're not doing as much, they survive a lot longer. Although the queens can live a lot longer than that. I mean, I think your average honeybee queen will live about 3 years, but can live up to 5. Although a lot of the time they will probably supersede that queen after 2 years.
Superseded.
Yeah.
Magic word.
So
Drone dicks exploding.
Yeah,
Okay.
drones' dicks explode. That's it. You know, no context. I'm just leaving it there. Moving on. No, it's so when honeybees like mate, right? You get like a virgin queen. She flies off.
Yeah.
And the reason that drones' eyes are so big, like they take up like 2/3 of their entire head.
Because the dicks are about to explode?
Oh, well. That's it. They're just like, oh my God. Yeah. I know we're wearing glasses, but you know, I hope you get the, yeah, basically it's so that they can spot a queen flying because they mate on the wing, right? They fly and then...
I knew that.
But basically a queen will mate once in her life. She will mate with about 10 to 12 drones. And basically what happens is one mates, its dick blows up, it dies, and then she uses her back legs to like pull its dick out. Ready for the next one.
Wait, you have to say that in the voice. Sorry.
I can't.
No,
man.
you
I
have
can't
to. You
keep
have
doing
to.
the...
Do it.
What? Okay, how do I even structure that
I don't
in
know.
a quick soundbite? It's like, after her first suitor's dick explodes, she pulls it out with her rear legs, ready to have a train run on her immediately.
What does that mean?
Having a train... I'm not going to teach you that, man. You can don't Google that. Your search history will be awful.
Wait a minute. Okay, so the first partner, like the penis explodes.
Yeah.
And then there's next partners come in.
Yeah.
And they continue having sex for how long?
She flies once in her entire life and spends the rest of the time in the colony.
How is that possible? So like once, and you said they live up to 5 years.
Yeah. So this is what I was saying I would bring
Wow.
back. You were talking about how eggs will fertilize for up to 10 days.
Wow.
Whereas with bees, it can be up to 5 years.
That is
Yeah.
insane.
She's
That
just
is
got like
so
a
cool.
little cavity she keeps a whole load of bee jizz in, and she releases one bit at a time every time she lays an egg.
Okay, so question: why does the first suitor's penis have to blow up?
It's the method at which they reproduce.
And so it just blows up. The drone obviously dies.
Yep.
And the next ones come and continue doing it. How many other
10 to 12.
10 to
Yeah.
12 other partners going to come
Yeah.
and do?
But like I say, like it blows up, but it's left in there, and she has to use her rear legs to like pull it out, ready for the next one.
And then, but no one else's blows up.
What do you mean?
Oh, so everyone else?
Yeah.
All of
every
their dicks
single
blows
one.
up.
Every single one.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So
It's tough being a bee.
oh,
Hey, it gets worse because in the winter, when there's no use for drones, the workers bite their wings off and kick them out the hive so that they don't eat up all the stores over winter. Yeah. So either you get lucky and your dick blows up, or you have your wings ripped off and kicked out into the cold.
wow.
That's the life of a male bee, man.
Well, it's not far from the male life in here.
Yeah, no, my wife's always behind me with a pair of scissors ready to cut my wings off.
Or to cut your dick off.
no,
Oh,
she,
shit.
no, this is it. We're trying for kids, so
This
she still
is
needs that.
such a cool info. Like, I did not know that. Well, I can imagine that if my neighbor would try to explain this to me when I was like, 9 years old, and this is what happens. No, it would be more like, my son, I will tell you this.
Oh, no, penis. It blow up.
Blow up. Penis, don't fuck a queen. It blows up.
Blah, blah, blah.
Renarspodcast.